Good morning, this is Andy with Mountain Computers, the Go Green PC Tune-Up Guide. Today is October 21st, 2019. It's going to be a great day. I got up early this morning about 5, got some things done. And as I was working and reviewing what has happened over the weekend, I realized some things that I need to share with you. But first of all, let's talk about what is today's letter. Today's letter is I. I for Indigo, I for Idaho, I for lots of different things. But today's topics are going to be, number 1, integration. Number 2, interest in finance. Number 3, investing in finance. And number 4, investigations, interrogations, as it deals with computing and business. And last but not least, number 5, interviews. How to do interviews, good and bad. I've done some good ones, I've done some bad ones, but that's it. So 5 things today. Before we get started, there are some people that asked me some questions on my blog and my vlog. They said, is this what I always wear? And my wife and friends and family and stuff like that say, you never seem to change clothes. Well, that's because you want to have a theme. It's like Wayne's World, you know. Wayne and Garth, they had a set, they had a theme, and you stick with it. I mean, even Linus, LTT, Tech Tips, he has a theme, and when he started out, he was pretty rough, and he got better. But Wayne's World went sideways because they got away from their grassroots. Now, they got some corporate involvement that sort of ruined their grassroots appeal. So I don't want to lose my grassroots appeal. I don't want to lose what makes Andy great, what makes Mountain Computers great. So, you know, I can tell you there's 5 policies, 3 to 5 policies that we run here at this company. And one of them is always know what you're doing, be serious, have fun doing it. And in doing so, you attract great clients, you have great team members, you have great vendors and suppliers, and all at the same time. You're only on this planet so long, so you might as well enjoy yourself. Now, some people are wound a little too tight, which I've experienced. That's okay. They can stay where they're at, stay over here, stay over there. A vice president once told me at Microsoft, I love having Andy around. If you ever need anything done, make sure you give it to Andy. If you need it done, give it to Andy. However, he also said, with this caveat, he's got way too much energy. Just keep him away from me. Now that guy moved on to be one of the presidents at Oracle. Good guy, sort of a schmuck inside in some things, but overall I would say he's great because he let me do what I did best at Microsoft, and the same here. So with that being said, yes, I do have different colors, different jackets, and I dress nice in a suit and I do clean up fine. My wife loves that part. So, I for integration. Oh, by the way, today's coffee is Laugh. I'm a very serious person, but I'm also a very conscientious, approachable. Kids love me. Animals love me. Business people who have problems love me. So, that being said, integration. Okay, let's talk about systems integration. I'm great at it. New versus legacy solutions. Different types of stacks, you know, technology stacks. The risks, the rewards, and the ability for maintenance, enhancements, expansion, and overall, where do you find professionals to take care of those things? Now, mind you, I think in 1993, I went to Learning Tree International. It was a 2-week seminar, I believe, where I was from Microsoft, and it was on legacy systems and integration. The people that were there was the Navy, the Post Office, FedEx, a couple other 3PLs, third-party logistics systems, big iron companies. And for me, what we learned there were from the professionals and from those in the industry that said we have legacy systems that have been running 20, 30 years back then as they are today. And how do you maintain them? How do you enhance them? How do you prepare them for interfacing with the internet, let alone their local networks? I mean, everything was closed off, standalone, dial-up. So anyhow, let's talk about new versus legacy. Okay, so let's say the Reno Airport, here, Reno Tahoe Airport, RTAA Authority, they are changing their systems a little bit. Seen that in minutes and reviews. And you can tell that from some of their networking that you can see from the outside. So they have some legacy applications and they're trying to move to more cloud-based microservices. So the benefits of legacy is the fact that it's more stable and secure, yet difficult to maintain and enhance as time goes on. The new systems are great. They're cloud-based. They're flashy. You don't need a server, but the server is someplace else. There are server services and microservices that make everything work, let alone integrate with your existing systems. So there's a lot of integration going on, from your databases to your customers to your vendors to your tracking to your reports to integration with email, integration with video, integration with HVAC, everything from fire and police response to environmental controls with HVAC to security systems to access systems. All of those things integrate, and you want to bring those into a centralized system. Yet at the same time, that integration may need to integrate with other external entities like REMSA, like the Stead Airport, Reno Stead Airport. Technically, they're probably talking with each other directly, some form or fashion, hopefully high speed. So what are the risks? One, old systems. It's hard to find developers that can maintain it affordably. You've got a new generation of developers who are doing the new systems, the new services, yet they have so many holes and bugs and securities and threats. And I mean, just think of AAA, Cisco AAA. Young people half my age, they may make it look great, may make it feel great, but underneath the hood, it's chaos. They're relying on other third-party plugins and tools to do their job, when technically they don't know how to pick it apart. That's something I taught one of my developer friends over the weekend. Can you read the code? Yes or no? Nope. They can't. They can't read the code. So that tells, and we are 10 years apart. He's younger by 10 years, yet he should be smarter, but he's not. And he's a nice guy, but that's the difference. When I was at Microsoft, I was in my 20s, and some of the developers I was working with from Arthur Anderson were 10 years older than me. They were gods and geniuses. I humbled myself to those SQL gods and those systems gods. And there were some systems analysts that sucked. They would take forever to describe something that you could describe on a piece of paper. So they had to have this huge whiteboard, all these meetings and all that stuff. And when it came to integration, you do have to have a roadmap, you do have to have good documentation, but you don't have to waste people's time. Get to the point, say what you're going to say, have a list of strengths, have a list of weaknesses, threats. I mean, look at SWOT, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats. And the last one, which nobody really pays attention to, is T for trends, the double T on SWOT. So let's talk about the airport for a second. So you look at the airport systems, there's like 3 or 4 major systems, and there's one that's totally missing. But that's okay, they'll find somebody to fill in that gap, hopefully. Or bring on a consultant like me. You can just do a quick internal audit and know exactly what's going on in any company. And some things are major and some things are minor, both in terms of integration, standalone applications, etc. Even in my environment, are there any real threats? No, triple layered firewalls, redundant backups, triple redundant backups, physical security, physical power, protected power. We're in 2 medical grids, so you have to understand your power if you're in residential or business. What else? What kind of threats? Opportunities? Trends? Anything. I'm a trending person, but I'm not bleeding edge, I'm leading edge. So, where do you find developers, systems, leaders, IT people? I mean, it just came out today, Equifax, their complaint system for doing credit investigations The username and password was admin. How stupid is that? But I guess it goes back to Argentina in 2017 with Equifax. It started there in another country. So did they promote somebody from Argentina and brought them to the US? No. What they had was IT management that wasn't curious enough to look in every nook and cranny and do an audit. Trust your people, but verify. If they've been there for a while, network administrators, system administrators, you name it, application developers, database developers, even other management. Everybody drives their computer differently, but it's important that you, as the IT leader, the person who says everything, I mean, the Reno Tahoe Airport has this chief information officer, great guy, been there for a while. Very nice. But the question is boots on the ground, holistic thinking, like I've told people before, 360-degree analysis at the center spot, continuous improvement, metrics, dashboards. Use your instincts. If you're sleeping at night and all of a sudden you have some sort of weird thinking or dream, it's best to investigate. Something unconsciously is telling you something. So where do you find good IT leaders and managers? Well, if they're local, great, and if they're far away, relocation is fine too. But if they don't work out and they've relocated, what do you do with them? Well, that's part of the contract, so. What else about integration? Languages. There's something about languages and plugins. Some systems that I know in the medical industry, like Renown, they have a couple, like Epic and some other big systems. IHS, some of the rural hospitals run IHS out of Florida. Those are big iron, expensive $1-2 million systems, when technically you can get away from smaller integrated systems that do well in data intense departments like radiology, laboratory especially, pharmacy. What's the biggest mistake in a hospital that people make? Medication errors. When the doctor writes down something, it gets transposed, transcribed, or whatever, and gets to the pharmacy, and the person gets the wrong thing and dies. That's the biggest no-no. How do you prevent that? Well, doctors, that's where it starts. And if somebody can't read their handwriting, that's important. But we used to, 20 years ago when we were doing medical systems, that was the biggest thing, was medical accuracy with prescriptions and how the pharmacy fills those. And if there's an adverse reaction, we sometimes find out people go into the hospital for a hangnail in their toe and they die. That's not supposed to happen. So we were trying to integrate systems back then, but the technology wasn't there between ER and the pharmacy. Tablets, wireless, security, databases, everything was like token ring, proprietary, not open. They are now, but how open? Can people hack? Can hackers get in and screw up prescriptions for patients, inpatients or outpatients? It's very possible. I worry about that. So when it comes to integration, don't overexpose yourself. Be serious. In medical world, that's their airline travel. Yes. Do not put too much weight on a plane. Oh. The pilots calculate that stuff. Takeoff, landing, how much fuel they need, so on and so forth. The airport runways, expansion, improvements. Capacity planning 101. So when it comes to integration, back to integration. Let's talk about software for a second. Flash, no bueno. Flash components, Adobe Flash. Active server pages in the Microsoft stack, ASP. Still solid, but they're getting rid of, what are they getting rid of? Microsoft's getting rid of one language, I can't remember. Just came out in the news. Oh, it doesn't matter. So let's talk about the LAMP stack, the open source stack, versus the Microsoft stack, the closed source stack, or somewhere in between, Oracle, Sun, Java. So what do you do? Well, if you are needing to integrate with emergency operation systems, number one, I hope it's been tested, and not like Hawaii where they send out a real false alert. West Coast, we're going to have a big earthquake soon. Capture that on camera right now. A 9.0 earthquake. A 9.0 earthquake in San Francisco would pretty much level the city. and pretty much a lot of areas around there. That's coming. How soon? They're getting some shakeups right now. So emergency operations management and services, your bunkers, your communications, those are most important. Food, water, shelter, fire, ammunition, medical aid. Very important, very important. So make sure that all those systems are integrated and tested. REMSA to the hospitals. We got a new hospital coming out in South Reno. It's part of the Northern Nevada Medical Center. That's very cool. They've got an extension of Renown off of South Meadows. That's cool. But how are we going to integrate all those systems and keep them secure? Fiber. Remember that one video I had on the ISO stack? The TCP/IP stack? All those layers from layer 0 to layer 7 to layer 1? That's important. So enough about integration for today. I've covered that for just one video segment alone. 10 minutes, 12 minutes, can't tell. Let's talk about interest swaps. Okay, so if you get into debt, credit card debt, and I'm going back 25, 30 years ago when, you're in relationships where other people don't necessarily pay off their debt. They carry their debt on credit cards. You can do interest swaps. Find 0% interest swaps. If your credit's good enough, open those up for 2 years. Transfer all of your credit card debt to it. Pay that off as quickly as possible. Move to the next credit card, so on and so forth. Some interviews on television that are showing students getting out of $100,000 worth of debt. They're being aggressive, but they're the outliers. Most people are going to have debt, and they won't have that thinking, that forward thought, especially when it comes down to interest swaps. I did a study in my master's degree, and it was on American Express, where you make American Express credit card and American Express debit, per se. The first 30 days, American Express holds your balance here. Then after 30 days, if it isn't paid off, they move it over to another division, which is a totally separate entity, where they have different access of money with the feds. So what the American Express does is they move you back and forth between the two organizations using interest swaps to get better lending from the feds on balances existing. So when businesses do interest swaps, especially with refinancing with homes, buildings, personal loans, federal, if Warren Buffett buys Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, oh wow, that's going to be crazy. I think that's illegal. The FTC should look into that. What else? Interest swaps. Refinancing your home. Like for me, I run my own company and business. It's very nearly impossible because I don't have a W-2 per se. I got a K-1. So banks don't like that. They don't understand that. Personal banks. You can try, but Wells Fargo, totally terrible. I've had the worst experience of my life with Wells Fargo being a business owner, and other business owners agree. Most banks, especially the big ones, they don't understand finance. They just understand the bottom line of your 1040, and that's it. They don't want to go through the rest. Even if your P&L, your cash flow, your liquidity is good, you might as well just buy the house with cash and tell them to go away when they want to open up a line of credit all of a sudden because you paid off your house in cash. I'm getting there. We're getting there. So anyhow, interest swaps. Oh, and don't use the big banks for interest swaps. Go to other banks. Use ones that are second tier, just as good, but with better customer service, often better terms. So investing. Let's talk about investing for a second. Time is your friend. Compounding is your friend. Between 30 and 50, it makes the most money in your life. So remember that between age 30 and 50, the most money you make in your life. Now in my case, it'll be past that. When I was in my undergrad, one of our professors said, this is how it works financially. When you're in your 20s, you graduate, you get out of debt, and then suddenly you get a family, and you start doing 401ks, get a Roth IRA, maximize your employer matches on your retirement. If they give 3%, match it as much as possible. It's good for the future. The compounding in time, you can't stop time, but you can. I've been wiped out twice, and I'm rebuilding again, and we'll make sure that this time it sticks, and you build some assets and equity, even though it's painful to lived through the 2008 market crash when the big banks screwed up everybody's lives. However, they got bailed out, care of us, taxpayers, and Congress, who did some stuff to... That'll come out eventually, by the way. People will go to jail. They're already being killed off. Sadly. Karma. Interrogate, investigate. Okay, so we did integration, did interest swaps, we did investing. I think I did enough on investing. Oh, if you go back to college and you need money to go to college, I took out money out of my 401k and my IRA in order to pay for my college in some spots in order to cover cost of living expenses to do my master's degree. That was fine. I took the 10% penalty hit on some and then not on others, but it worked out. So just remember, when it comes to investing, your wife, your spouse, or whatever, they will have ideas, you will have ideas. I file my taxes separately from my wife because we have different backgrounds and different financial strategies. So I do my taxes and file, married, filing separately. She does separate. So think about that. Don't be afraid of that. That's a good thing. Her bank accounts are separate than mine. My business is separate from all the others. So when you think about investing, don't commingle your funds. Keep them separate as best as possible. Okay? So interrogate, investigate, the rules on both sides. Why I? Interrogate, investigate. Several of my clients are lawyers, law enforcement, so on and so forth. I work with the PD, I work with the feds, I work with the county. You have to remember they're real people too. They got a tough job. It's not a job I would want. But when it comes down to interrogating and investigating, most clients don't know the law. They don't know their rights. They get hurt. I mean, my wife got hurt by not knowing the law, her English was not that good. Have I been hurt by the law? No, not really. I don't want to be. Always work in good faith. Be consistent. Even if you want to do the right thing all the time. And if somebody tries to put you in a bad jam, try and push that away, okay? I like helping people, but man, sometimes people will put you in a bind or put you in a jam, and that's not good. I've been hired by companies where the execs were, and I said this in an interview just recently, and it probably screwed up the interview. Too much information, talked too much. But that's okay, that's me. Knowledge sharing. I'm not going to be a professor. I don't want to be a professor. If I have to be a professor, great. But on what? So many things. Management, computing, etc. But back to the interrogation side. White-collar crime that we see in television, there is so much going on and so many people get away with it. I just think it's terrible. All we can do is try to take the high road. Take the high road, okay? If you get investigated or you're investigating other people, be ethical. You don't have to answer all the questions. You have rights. If they ask a hard question, think about it before you open your mouth. Am I being detained? What law have I broken? Can you explain it? This is how I interpreted the law. That's how you're interpreting the law. The DA, just as announced on major television, a major top shelf Washington lawyer said, district attorneys have no bounds, and because nobody can stop them. Rudy Giuliani, Trump, some of those. They're not the guilty ones. What's guilty is the fact that they've had to go to certain ends, go through certain means to get something done, to catch the bad guys. Now, if there are bad guys out there, but when sometimes the system is set up for mass incarceration, district attorneys just throw the book at people if they don't want a plea deal. And they don't want to, there's a no contest rule. You can say no contest. It's not like I'm guilty or innocent, but there's no contest. It means you have more resources and you will take away my resources to defend myself, let alone a public defender that doesn't really care. I mean, they say they care, but most lawyers and bar associations You know, they're going to cover their own butt before they cover yours. So why even hire them? I mean, wise man once said, keep your own counsel. So you have to understand, when you get interrogated, audited, investigated, either way, both sides, there is an appeal process, there is a reasonable and prudent clause. I mean, there's lots of things that go on. And you have to understand, don't do anything to hurt yourself or harm yourself. If somebody puts you in that jam, get out from underneath it. Move away, step aside, push it back. That's the most important thing. I got audited in the military many times in the supply. And the master sergeant and usually the major that came in, they said, you're really good at what you do. And I go, what do you mean? I know that the motor sergeants have made you do things that you're not supposed to do. And we know that. IG inspection. However, I know you know the rules because everything else is squeaky clean aside from those things that we know that those guys like the motor sergeant and motor officer are doing that you know is against federal regulations. I go, I know that, but they're my bosses and I can't do anything about it. And we go, we understand. Good job. Keep up the good work. One day when you're in that position, try not to do those things. They give you a little nod, a little slap on the hand. They didn't hurt you because they couldn't find anything, but they know there's stuff there. Stuff you're not supposed to have in your TO&E. Remember, we all are on this planet and we're all mortal. We all succumb to the power of others. Even if we don't want to let that power come over us, they have the authority to make our lives miserable. So you have to work through that. And keep your faith. You know, keep your northern star, keep your compass, stay on the route. I mean, I've got some great friends and family, and some of them have been used car salesmen kind of thinkers, and some people have tried to hide things. I'm like, really? Don't do that. You don't have to. There's ways around it. There are legal ways around what you're trying to do. You just haven't found it yet, or you haven't asked enough questions. And due to laziness or lack of expedience, they take the shortcut rather than work through it. So, interrogation, investigation, rules, both sides. Think about it. Interviews. This has been a long one this morning, but that's okay. My coffee's not cold yet, but interviews. This is not what I wear all the time. Technically it is in this environment. But in other environments, you know, I have a Kohl's card. You know, I go to Kohl's and buy some nice, I like tweed. I like ties. I like nice colored button shirts. I like good shoes. But when it comes to interviews, I guess I got to keep my mouth shut. I think the last couple interviews that I succeeded at, being a NOC manager, I just shared very little. Just remained poised. Wasn't like a Jack Russell Terrier, excited about the opportunity, excited about the chance of joining a great team. Yeah, I get it. It's a game. It's an interviewing team, interviewers. I had a dream that the person who made the decision about me not being hired for an opportunity didn't get the right facts. What they heard from the interviewing team was not what I said or what I meant. And so what happened was they were like, oh my goodness, you were a good choice. We just didn't get the information from you that really we do need great people. We do need honest people. We need hardworking people, people who think, critical thinkers, but also fast. Not yes men or yes women, but people who are passionate. And the HR contact I had, she said I was my passion. She said my enthusiasm was contagious. That's good. If there's a lack of happiness in a work culture, I definitely would bring it. Yeah, bring your A game. Have fun, you know. So anyhow, we did, how many eyes? This is a long video, but it'll be fun. Integration, interest swaps, investing, interrogate, and interviews. So obviously I got to get to work. This is Andy from Mountain Computers. Like, subscribe, and share, and have a great day.